There are about 8 billion people on this planet, so we are bound to have the same or similar experiences, especially as a kid and maturing through the years. Growing up, there will be many things that we have in common, but everyone has that one or a couple niche things that it seems like nobody has heard of for one reason or another. Whether that reason was not as popular or didn't break through the mainstream, or it just wasn't as good to others as it seemed to you, or maybe it was just lost to time. My name is Travis, and you clicking on this video, that's what's up. In today's video, I want to talk about a game that I believe is criminally underrated. A game that was a big part of my childhood, which now that I think about it, it probably shouldn't have been considering it was made in 1988, and I wasn't even born till 15 years later. But luckily, I found it nevertheless. The game in question is Gain Ground, a 16-bit slash 8-bit action arcade game from the 80s. It was made by Sega for the Sega Genesis. And like I said before, I was lucky enough to have a Sega Classic system and discovered this game. But for most people, you probably never even heard of this masterpiece. So the goal of this video is to share with everyone a piece of my childhood lost to the time before it. So let's get into it. The masterpiece that time forgot, a Gain Ground review. I cannot start this video with anything else besides the soundtrack. Music is my favorite thing ever, and there's no better feeling than finding a movie or a game with a great soundtrack to put on repeat. The Game Ground soundtrack is that but doubled, because it's that classic 8-bit style that I'm a sucker for. The second you press start on this game, your ass will begin to quake with how groovy that first track, Origins, is. Shit goes absolutely crazy and immediately grabs your attention and allows you to understand the vibe of exactly what situation you're in. Every part of the soundtrack does that so well, from that beginning track being full of wonder and feeling like this is a fight that you're about to endure, up to the present track feeling like you're close to the end and that you've been through the mud already, but it also feels like this is going to be your hardest challenge yet. And then finally ending with the final stage theme, making you know that you're at the end, but the fight is not over yet. Along with feeling like it's part of the story, the songs also do a perfect job of making you feel the era that you're in as well, starting with the medieval times up to the futuristic times. Each track plays their part perfectly. I think what makes a great game soundtrack is the ability to perfectly grab the vibe of each level with the feel of what's going on in the story, but also the feel of progressing in the game as well. Adding on to this, the songs also have to be bangers. You can have a song that goes perfectly with your story, but if it doesn't fuck, then what is the point? It's not going to be memorable. Gain Ground soundtrack does all these things plus a little more, which is why I think it's perfect. The story for Gain Ground was way ahead of its time, figuratively and literally. The story takes place in the distant future year of 3000. We now live in a world without war, but just in case, the government creates a supercomputer simulation that simulates war from medieval times up to present day, so current soldiers don't become complacent in the case that war does break out. The AI of said simulation then goes rogue and traps soldiers inside, and it's up to us as the player to rescue the soldiers and defeat the supercomputer within the simulation. A story like that in the 80s is so in tune for what's going on in the world now with the controversy of AI. The story itself is so insane to me, and honestly, if I heard it without knowing what game it was from beforehand, I would just think it's from a modern game. One thing I'm always saying is this game would be amazing with a modern remake. I could imagine a revamped story and voice acting, also cutscenes. I honestly think it would do great numbers and it would resonate with modern gamers, as well be appreciated by old gamers. With a modern remake, the story's core message wouldn't be lost either, with how relevant the story is today. Another thing that the story does great is it coincides with gameplay perfectly. As you progress through the game, each level is designed with a different time era in mind, and the characters you pick up along the way shows that as well. As you're fighting medieval people with bows and spears, you pick up characters with the same weapons. As you fight a modern military with guns and futuristic weapons, you pick up characters with the same. The thing I would love to see from a modern remake of Gain Ground would definitely be the characters. Out of all 20 of them, each one seems like they have a very unique personality. And the cool thing is, this game has no dialogue, but it doesn't need it because you can just tell the personality through the character design. I think through a modern remake, adding dialogue would just enhance these characters so much more. The story isn't just seen through the main characters either, but through the villains and bosses showing progress through time as well. It's so cool to me that even though in these old 8-bit games you either have to read or figure out the story through gameplay, sometimes they can be more engaging and more interesting than a lot of modern titles that have all the works like cutscenes and voice acting. It's a shame though that a lot of them didn't really break through the mainstream like Gain Ground. Like I said before, the story directly correlates with the gameplay. The gameplay is really the bread and butter of Gain Ground. You can gather everything you need to know from just playing the game. As you progress through the game, you'll gather knowledge on the story and characters. The characters especially tell a story through their playstyle, showing each part of their personality through weapon choice and how they choose to use the weapon, even character design. The gameplay isn't just a big part of the story, but it's just plain fun as well. The main part of the gameplay is so cool with the strategies you have to apply to get through each level, making sure you have enough people to make it through each level as it increasingly gets tougher as you move along, but also making sure you have the right characters to efficiently complete the levels as well. It's always good to pick up everybody, because every character is useful in one way or another. Some characters are great to have in any situation, like Verbal for example. Me and my friends like to call him Turtle Shell though. Or any of the bazooka guys for the most part. Other characters are good for specific situations. There are a lot of characters that you can use for situations you wouldn't normally use them in, once again adding value to picking everyone up. It's also good to just have more people than not. Another part of the strategy to gain ground is deciding the best way to complete each level. There are two ways to complete a level in Gain Ground. One is to kill every enemy, or two, run every character through the exit before the time runs out. It's so much fun, the challenge of figuring these things out, especially in the little amount of time that you have. If time runs out in any given level, then every character that didn't cross through the exit, you'll lose. It makes things for all the upcoming levels even more difficult. One part of the game that I love are the boss fights. I think for the time, the bosses are very unique with their character design and moveset. They can be really challenging if you're not careful or once again don't have the right characters. The bosses also tie everything together. Something that I think Gain Ground does better than a lot of modern titles, in my opinion, is tie everything together. Most modern games have great aspects alone, but put together are good but not as cohesive as games like Gain Ground. I think all great games are games that can bring everything together. The music, the story, and gameplay all come full circle in Gain Ground. That cohesiveness, that unity, is why I would consider Gain Ground, or most games like it, masterpieces. The ability to bring everything full circle shows a masterclass in game design like no other. Unity also shows through the co-op gameplay of Gain Ground. Yes, playing solo is fun, but it can be a lot tougher, and there's nothing like a good couch co-op game. It's a lost art in the modern day. The feeling of beating a game with your siblings or buddies right next to you is a feeling like none other. The chaos that can develop from two different playstyles is such a blast. It can be madness, but so much fun. Even in losing, it's a great time talking about the game afterwards and coming up with better ways to go about each level. I've always just played with my sister until she got married, and then we added in my brother in law, and I tell you what, our trio is unstoppable. They're better at the game than me, so they tend to be the ones with the controllers for the most part, while I help out in the back with things that they might not notice, or how many enemies are left, or just different strats they can use. With how busy each one of us can be with work or doing other things, it's rare that we can find time to do something like a game that us three can do together. So when we do get to be brought together when we play Gain Ground, it feels great. That's why I want to separate a section specifically for Unity. The co-op aspect of Gain Ground is great for bringing people together. I'm sure in the arcade days of this game, there were many times that two random people would hop on a game and become friends just through that one quarter. I think Gain Ground is a masterpiece for many reasons. The banger soundtrack, the amazing ahead of time story, the gameplay and characters, and how it just brings people together. The ability to become a masterpiece in gaming has to include all these things. It has to do this with bringing everything full circle and allow for amazing community through said game. Another thing, adding a great core theme and message to make you feel some sort of way. I think Gain Ground does all of this. I wouldn't be calling it a masterpiece if it didn't. I don't throw that term around loosely either. When I call something a masterpiece, whether it's a game or a movie or anything else, that thing changed my view. It made me feel a certain way. If a game like Gain Ground checks all those boxes, then the big question is, why do other people not see it that way as the masterpiece that I do? It could be for many different reasons, but personally, I believe it was simply lost to time. We're at the end of another video, so like always, thank you again for making it here. Watching the full video really does help out a lot. And this is the part where I do what's next type of speech. So what is next? The answer is we're definitely going to switch up and leading into mainly just game reviews. That's basically the main part of this channel, but I've been doing a lot of zombies content recently, so I do want to get back into what I really want to do, and that's game reviews. Also, maybe some movie reviews here and there also. We'll see what's going to happen. But we're also going to be continuing the zombie maps. We're also going to be getting into the rest of the Resident Evil games, so look out for that. Hopefully I can get into a solid schedule of uploading probably every other Wednesday, maybe more than that, but for right now it's sticking to just every other Wednesday. So we'll see if that works out. But yeah, looking forward to every other Wednesday. But with that being said, that's it for this video. Like always, remember to praise God and have a good one.